The year was 2684. Across the wide arms of the Milky Way, most worlds belonged to one big group called the Galactic Concord. 400 different species lived and worked together under its rules. Trade flowed. Wars almost never happened anymore. Peace looked perfect on the outside. But one small blue planet refused to join. Earth. For more than 200 years, the Concord had sent ships, messages, and ambassadors to Earth. Every time, the answer was the same. Calm, polite, firm. We are not ready yet. The aliens did not understand. Humans had slow ships that could not even reach the speed of light. They had no great fleets, no planet-killing weapons that everyone knew about. Their cities still used old fusion reactors and simple rockets. To most of the galaxy, Earth looked weak, backward, easy. Admiral Vexith of the Keltar did not like waiting. Keltar were tall insects with shiny black shells and many sharp arms. Vexith stood 8 feet tall, and his mandibles clicked when he was angry. He had fought in real wars long ago. Now he commanded the biggest fleet sent to Earth so far. This ends today, he told his officers on the bridge of the flagship, Silent Sting. One quick show of force. They will sign the treaty before the first moon sets. The officers agreed. The scans showed almost nothing. A few old defense satellites, 12 small warships that looked like museum pieces, ground bases with basic lasers. No sign of hidden shipyards, no energy readings that suggested big guns or shields. Earth seemed naked. The fleet gathered far away in the Oort cloud. 300 ships, dreadnoughts the size of small cities, fast attack cruisers, heavy troop carriers, enough power to crack a planet in half if they wanted. They moved slowly inward, careful not to scare the humans too early. On Earth, most people went about their normal lives. Children went to school. Workers rode trains to jobs. Farmers watched crops grow under artificial suns in the domes. News channels talked about the coming fleet, but many people just shrugged. They always come, they always leave, an old man said in a cafe in New Mumbai. We say no, they go home angry. Same story. Not everyone felt so calm. In underground command centers, generals and scientists watched screens. Red dots moved closer on the maps. The president of United Earth spoke quietly to her advisors. If they fire even one shot, she said, we may have no choice. An advisor shook his head. The old agreement still stands. We do not wake him unless there is no other way. The president looked at the floor. I know. Far below the ice of Antarctica, something older than all human cities waited. The place had no name on any map. No entrance showed on satellite pictures. Long ago, people had dug deep into the rock and ice. They built thick walls of special metal and stone. Then they left. They sealed the doors. They erased the records. They told no one where it was. Inside those walls, corridors stretched for miles. Lights had been dark for 1,200 years. Air recyclers stayed silent. Dust lay thick on the floor. Now the sensors woke up. Tiny vibrations came through the ice, ships braking in high orbit, engines humming, weapons charging. The old machines felt it. Numbers flashed on cracked screens. Red lights blinked slowly. A deep computer voice spoke in a room. No human had entered since the 15th century. Threat level, existential. Unauthorized approach detected. Time since last activation, 1,200 years, 47 days, 14 hours. Protocol Alpha 1 engaged. One door after another opened with soft hisses. Stale air moved for the first time in centuries. Emergency lights came on, weak and yellow. A single path lit up along the floor, guiding toward the center. At the end of the path stood one stasis pod. It looked simple. Gray metal. No decorations. A small window showed a man lying inside. His face was calm. His chest did not move. No breath. No heartbeat. Only a faint green line on the monitor proved he was still alive. The pod gave a long sigh. Frost cracked and fell away. The lid slid back. Cold gas poured out. The man opened his eyes. He stared at the ceiling for a long moment. His pupils adjusted to the dim light. Then he sat up slowly. Muscles that had not moved in over a millennium stretched without pain. His skin looked normal. No scars, no age. Just a tall man in his 30s, or maybe 40s. Hard to tell. He wore a plain gray jumpsuit. On the chest was a small patch, a blue circle with a white outline of Earth. Below it, 3 faded words, Earth Defense Force. He looked around the room. Same gray walls, same control panels, same silence. About time, he said. His voice was quiet, a little rough from long sleep. He swung his legs over the side of the pod. Bare feet touched the cold floor. He did not shiver. He stood up, walked to a nearby locker. Inside were boots, a belt, and a small black device that looked like a thick bracelet. He put them on without hurry. A screen on the wall turned itself on. It showed live images from space, alien ships, hundreds of them, closing in. The man watched for a minute. His face did not change. No fear, no anger, just calm. He touched the bracelet. A soft blue light ran around it once. Then it went dark again. Status, he said. A voice answered from the walls. Old, male, familiar. All systems green, Captain Kane. Planetary defense grid on standby. Singularity core stable. You have full command authority. Elias Kane nodded once. He started walking. Long steps, steady, down the corridor. Past empty rooms. Past machines that had waited as long as he had. Up sloping tunnels. Through airlocks that opened at his touch. The path led to a final door. Thick, round, covered in frost on the outside. He put his hand on it. The metal warmed under his palm. Locks clicked. The door rolled aside. Cold wind rushed in. Snow swirled. Bright daylight hurt his eyes for a second. Then he stepped out. He stood on the surface of Antarctica. Wind pulled at his jumpsuit. Ice stretched in every direction. Far above, faint trails of fire showed where the alien ships entered the atmosphere. Elias Kane looked up. He raised one hand. Not in salute, not in threat. Just a small motion, like someone checking the weather. Far out in space, the first Concorde weapons began to glow. Railguns charged. Missile bays opened. Admiral Vexif smiled on his bridge. Fire when ready, he said. No one on Earth moved. No alarms screamed. No fighters launched. Everything stayed quiet. Except for one man, standing alone on the ice. He lowered his hand, and something very old, very patient, began to wake up fully. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The alien fleet hung above Earth like a storm cloud made of metal. 300 ships blocked the stars. Their hulls gleamed cold silver and black. Engines glowed blue. Point defense guns tracked every small object in orbit. Admiral Vexif stood on the bridge of the Silent Sting. His many eyes watched the main screen. Earth looked small and blue below. Peaceful. Defenseless. He clicked his mandibles once. Send the demand. A translator drone floated forward. It broadcast on every open channel in every known language. This is Admiral Vexif of the Galactic Concorde. Your world is the last non-member system. Surrender all military authority to Concorde Command within 1 standard hour. Open your ports for inspection. Refuse, and we will enforce compliance. This is your only warning. Silence followed. No reply came for almost 5 minutes. Then, a single voice answered. Calm, clear, human. It came from a ground station in what used to be called Switzerland. "This is United Earth Command. Leave now or regret it." Admiral Vexith laughed. The sound came out sharp and wet. "They still think they can bargain." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare the first kinetic strike. 10 rods. Target the largest population centers. Low yield. Enough to show strength. Not enough to kill the species. Yet." The officer's claws danced over controls. Railguns on the lead dreadnoughts hummed. Long tungsten rods slid into firing chambers. Each rod was 20 meters long and weighed as much as a small building. Dropped from orbit, they would hit like meteors. No radiation, no fallout. Just clean, terrible force. "Rods away in 30 seconds, the officer said. On Earth, people watched from rooftops and windows. Some cried, some prayed, most just stared upward. News feeds showed the fleet in real time. Children asked parents why the sky looked wrong. In the command bunker, the president sat with folded hands. Her advisors waited. One screen showed the countdown from the alien ships. Another showed live satellite feed of Antarctica. Nothing moved there, just ice and wind. "Still no launch orders?" she asked quietly. "No, Madam President," a general answered. "We follow the old rule. Only he decides." She nodded once. "Then we wait." Out in space, the rods left their tubes. Silent streaks of metal fell toward Earth. They glowed red as they hit atmosphere. 10 bright lines burned across the sky. Admiral Vexith leaned forward. Impact in 40 seconds. The rods never reached the ground. One by one, they vanished. No flash, no explosion, no debris cloud. The streaks simply stopped existing. Sensors screamed warnings. Space itself seemed to bend for a moment. "What happened?" Vexith snapped. "Unknown interference field," the science officer said. "Origin, Antarctica." All eyes turned to secondary screens. A single human figure stood on the ice shelf. Tall, gray jumpsuit, no helmet, no armor, just a man in the open wind. His arms were raised, palms open. Elias Kane. He spoke again. The same calm voice carried to every ship, every station, every listening post in the system. "I gave you one warning." Admiral Vexith felt something cold crawl through his shell. He had fought many battles. He had seen species beg. He had seen planets burn. But he had never seen anything disappear like that. "Target that figure," he ordered. "All forward batteries. Full power." Lasers snapped out. Particle beams lit space blue and violet. Railguns spat more rods. Missiles streaked forward in hundreds. The beams and projectiles never reached the ice. They bent, curved, folded into nothing. One dreadnought's main cannon fired a plasma lance thick as a river. The beam twisted like water poured on glass, then collapsed into a point of light and vanished. The fleet bridge filled with alarm klaxons. "Shields at full," Vexith shouted. "Evasive pattern Delta." Too late. Elias lowered his arms. A wave rolled out from him. Not light, not sound, not anything the Concorde sensors could name properly. It moved in perfect silence, a ripple in reality itself. It crossed the distance in less than a second. The lead dreadnought, the Silent Sting, touched the edge of the wave first. It did not explode. It did not break apart. It simply stopped being there. One moment a kilometer-long warship, bristling with guns. The next moment, nothing. No wreckage, no energy flare, no radiation spike. The ship's icon blinked out of every tactical display like it had never existed. Screams filled the fleet channels. Ships scattered in every direction. Engines burned at maximum. Jump drives spooled up in panic. Elias watched from the ice. His face stayed calm. No smile, no frown. Just steady eyes. Another wave came, smaller this time. It swept through the fleeing formation like a broom. 3 cruisers vanished, then 5 more, then a troop carrier carrying 10,000 soldiers. The rest ran. Admiral Vexith was not on the Silent Sting anymore. He had died the instant the wave touched his ship. His last thought was confusion. How could one man do this? On Earth, people cheered. Some cried with relief. Others stood silent, looking at the sky where death had almost come. In the bunker, the president exhaled slowly. He woke up. A scientist at the console whispered, "And he's angry." Elias Kane turned away from the sky. The alien ships were gone now, running back toward the jump points at the edge of the system. Some would make it. Most would not. He walked back toward the open vault door. Snow crunched under his boots. Wind howled around him. He did not hurry. Inside the tunnel, lights still glowed weak yellow. He passed the same corridors he had walked earlier. Machines hummed softly now, ready, waiting. He reached the control room, sat in the old chair. It fit him perfectly, like it had never been empty. A screen lit up. It showed the solar system. Tiny red dots marked the fleeing ships. Some blinked out as they hit the outer defense grid he had quietly activated. "Report," he said. The deep voice answered. 17 ships destroyed, 283 in retreat. No damage to Earth's surface or population. Singularity core holding at 0.4% output. Elias nodded. "Good. Stand down active weapons. Keep passive scans on high. If anything comes back inside the heliopause, wake me." "Understood, Captain." He leaned back, closed his eyes for a moment. The chair adjusted itself slightly, cradling him. Outside, the ice closed over the vault entrance again. Snow fell. Wind covered every trace of footprints. Above, the stars returned to normal. The alien fleet was a memory now. A bad dream, running away at full burn. But the galaxy had seen it. Probes had recorded everything. Satellites had caught the images. The data raced outward on tachyon relays. In days, every major world would know. One man, one forgotten defender, had just erased a flagship like swatting a fly, and he had not even left the ground. The Concorde would talk about this for centuries. Some would call it a miracle. Some would call it a nightmare. All of them would call it the same thing in the end, a warning. And somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice, Elias Kane slept again. Not forever, just until the next time. Because the galaxy never learned. Not really. The alien ships ran. Engines burned hot as they fled toward the jump points at the edge of the solar system. Some made it, many did not. Small flashes marked their end when they crossed invisible lines Elias had drawn long ago. The Concorde fleet that came to conquer Earth left as scattered survivors, broken, afraid. News traveled fast in the galaxy, faster than light itself. Tachyon relays carried the data in bursts. Every major world received the same images within hours. A single human on the ice, arms raised, ships vanishing, no debris, no warning shots, just gone. On the capital world of the Concorde, a planet called Nexus Prime, emergency sessions began. The Grand Assembly Hall filled with beings of every shape. Feathered diplomats from the Aviary, scaled merchants from the Drakon, gelatinous thinkers from the Vel, and many more. No one spoke at first. A small fur-covered delegate from the rodent-like Squeetar broke the silence. "How?" she asked in a high voice. "How does one being do that?" No one had an answer. Analysts worked through the night. They pulled old files, forbidden files, archives sealed since before the Concorde existed. Deep in the most secure vaults, under layers of quantum encryption, they found something. A report from 1200 years ago. The date was Old Earth calendar, 1487 AD. The invaders had come then too. Not the Concord, something older, a warlike empire called the Zorath Dominion. They had scouted Earth, saw a young species with fire and metal but no space travel. They decided Earth would make a good colony. Easy pickings. They sent a fleet of 30 ships, big ones, armed with weapons that could melt cities from orbit. Humanity fought back the only way they could, with everything they had. Nuclear missiles, early lasers, desperate suicide runs with chemical rockets. It was not enough. The Zorath burned whole continents. Then, one man volunteered. His name was Elias Kane, a soldier, no family left, no fear of death. Scientists had a secret project, Project Thanatos. They took a captured Zorath singularity core, a tiny black hole they used as a power source, and fused it with a human brain and nervous system. Not a cyborg, something more. The core became part of him. He became part of the core. The procedure almost killed him. It changed him forever. When the Zorath fleet came into range, Elias was launched from a hidden base in the South Pole. He floated in orbit, naked to space. No suit, no ship. He raised his hands. The Zorath ships vanished, one after another. 30 became 0 in less than an hour. No trace. The Dominion never came back. Rumors said they feared something new in this corner of the galaxy. But the cost was high. Elias could not turn off. The singularity inside him wanted to keep going. It hungered for more targets. If left alone, it might have eaten the Earth itself. So the scientists did the only thing they could. They put him in stasis, deep under the ice. They built machines to watch him. They made a promise. Wake him only if Earth faced total destruction. No less. Then they buried the truth. They burned records, killed the last witnesses who knew too much, told stories that the invaders simply left, that humanity won with clever tricks and luck. Over centuries, the story faded. People forgot Elias Kane. They forgot Project Thanatos. They forgot why they stayed alone. Every time the Concord sent envoys, Earth leaders said the same thing. We are not ready yet. They were not saying no to joining. They were saying no to risking his awakening. Now the secret was out. On Nexus Prime, the assembly hall grew loud. Voices shouted over each other. "We must negotiate," one delegate cried. "We must isolate Saul," another said. "We must prepare defenses," a third roared. A quiet voice cut through the noise. An old human-born ambassador who had lived on Nexus for decades. His name was Marcus Lynn. "You do not understand," he said. "He did not chase them. He let most escape. That was mercy." The room went quiet. "He could have ended the entire fleet," Marcus continued. "He could have followed them home. He could end us all right now if he wanted. But he stopped. Why?" No one answered. "Because Earth asked him to," Marcus said. "He protects one world, not an empire, not revenge. Just one fragile blue ball. And humanity has spent 12 centuries keeping him asleep so the rest of you could live." Silence lasted a long time. Then the Grand Speaker, a tall crystalline being, spoke. "What do we do?" Marcus looked at the holographic image still frozen on the main screen. Elias, standing on the ice, alone. "We leave them alone," he said. "Forever." Word spread outward. Planets recalled ambassadors from Earth. Trade ships turned away from Sol routes. Military academies added new lessons. The Sol exception. Do not approach. The sleeping guardian. Some species laughed at first, called it myth, exaggeration. But the recordings did not lie. Ships did not just explode. They ceased. On border worlds, people started new sayings. Don't poke the blue world. If the gray man wakes, run. Children drew pictures of a tall figure in gray, hands raised, stars disappearing behind him. Religious groups formed. Some called Elias a god. Others called him a demon. Most just called him the Defender. And on Earth, life went on. People went back to work. Children played. Cities repaired minor damage from panic. The president gave a short speech. "We are safe," she said, because someone very old kept his promise. She did not say his name. She did not need to. Deep under the ice, Elias sat in the control chair. Screens showed the solar system, empty of threats. The red dots were gone. "Any new contacts?" he asked. "Negative, Captain," the voice answered. "All vessels beyond heliopause, no inbound vectors." Elias nodded. He stood up, walked to a small window that looked out on nothing but rock and ice. He stared for a long time. "I gave them a chance," he said quietly. "I hope they take it." He returned to the stasis pod, lay down. The lid closed slowly. Frost formed again. Lights dimmed. Sensors stayed awake. The galaxy kept turning. But now it knew. Humanity had not been weak. They had been careful. They had hidden the most dangerous weapon ever made. Not a fleet, not a bomb, just one man, who loved one world enough to become its end if needed. And the galaxy watched, in fear, in wonder, in silence, because some things are better left sleeping. Elias Kane did not chase the fleeing ships. He could have. The singularity inside him whispered possibilities. Stretch across light years, pull every vessel back, erase them one by one. But he ignored the whisper. Earth had asked for peace, not vengeance, so he gave them that. He rose from the ice in silence. No ship carried him. No engines roared. Space simply bent around his body, like water around a stone. He floated upward, slow at first, then faster. Atmosphere parted without sound. Stars sharpened above him. In low orbit he stopped. Earth hung below, beautiful and small. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. The same view he remembered from 1,200 years ago. Nothing important had changed. He raised both hands again, not to destroy, to speak. Every receiver in the solar system caught his voice. Every ship still limping away. Every probe, every listening post on distant worlds. Even civilian comms on pleasure cruisers light years out. The words came clear, calm, without anger. "I was built to protect one world. You came to take it. You failed. I will not chase you across the stars. But know this, the next fleet that enters Sol space will not leave. Not one ship, not one life pod. I have waited 12 centuries. I can wait 12 more. Humanity asked me to sleep so you could live. Consider this your final courtesy." The message ended. No dramatic echo, no threat of doom, just quiet fact. Silence followed across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, the Grand Assembly Hall froze. Delegates stared at floating holoscreens. The human ambassador Marcus Lind sat with his head bowed. He had warned them. Now, the warning had become law. Stock exchanges on 100 worlds crashed in minutes. Traders watched numbers fall like stones. Insurance companies refused to cover any ship headed toward Sol. Entire trade routes were redrawn overnight. Ships that once passed near the edge of human space now took long, expensive detours. Religious movements exploded. On the water worlds of the Thalor Collective, priests declared Elias a living saint of protection. On the fire-scorched planets of the Ignis Pact, shamans called him the Endbringer and burned offerings to keep him asleep. Temples built statues of a gray man with raised hands. Some showed him gentle, some showed him terrible. Military academies changed their teaching. Old war games were thrown out. New simulations appeared. The Soul scenario. Students learned one rule above all others. Do not cross the heliopause. Do not test the boundary. Do not wake the defender. Entire species recalled their ambassadors from Earth. Embassies closed quietly. Diplomats left without speeches. No one wanted to be on the same planet if something went wrong. Some tried to study him. Secret probes crept toward the outer system. Tiny drones disguised as asteroids. They never returned. Their signals simply stopped. No wreckage, no explanation. The message was clear. Months passed. Earth stayed quiet. No parades, no victory speeches. People went back to normal life. Farmers planted crops. Engineers built new habitats on Mars and the moons. Scientists kept working on slow, careful space travel. They still refused to join the Concorde. They still said the same words to any new envoy who dared ask. We are not ready yet. But now the galaxy understood what those words really meant. Elias returned to the vault. He walked the long corridors alone. Lights followed him. Machines hummed softly. He checked the core readings. Stable, low power, waiting. He sat in the control chair one last time. Screens showed the solar system. Clean, empty of threats. A few human ships moved between planets. Civilian, unarmed, safe. Any activity beyond the boundary? He asked. Negative, Captain, the voice answered. All foreign vessels maintain distance greater than 1 light hour. No weapons locks, no active scans. Elias nodded. He stood, walked to the stasis pod. The lid was already open. Frost clung to the edges. He lay down without hurry. Arms at his sides, eyes on the ceiling. Resume monitoring, he said. Wake me only for existential threat, nothing less. Understood. Good rest, Captain Kane. The lid closed. Gas hissed. Frost grew thick. Lights dimmed to nothing. The vault sealed itself. Ice closed over the entrance outside. Snow fell. Wind erased every mark. Above, the stars watched. On distant worlds, astronomers pointed telescopes at the small yellow star called Sol. They saw nothing unusual. No fleets, no explosions. Just a quiet system with one blue planet. But they kept looking. Nights on many planets grew strange. Children asked questions. Is the gray man still there? Will he wake again? Sometimes yes. Sometimes maybe. Always the same ending. As long as we leave Earth alone, he sleeps. Leaders met in secret rooms. They made pacts. The Sol Treaty. No written document, no signatures, just a shared understanding. Never send ships, never test weapons, never speak of conquest. The proverb spread. Don't wake the defender. It became the strongest law in the galaxy, stronger than any fleet, stronger than any emperor or council. 1 sentence, 4 words, enough to hold 400 species in check. Because they had seen what happened when someone forgot. A fleet came, arrogant, powerful, gone in moments. And the man who did it did not even leave his world. He stayed home, guarding, waiting, loving one small planet more than life itself, more than peace, more than mercy, enough to become the end of everything else, if needed. So the galaxy learned, slowly, painfully, but it learned, and it watched, always watched toward that quiet blue dot, hoping he stayed asleep, because if he ever opened his eyes again, for any reason other than defense, no one wanted to find out what came next. On clear nights, far from Sol, people still looked up. They saw the same stars, but now one star felt different, smaller, brighter, more dangerous. And somewhere beneath eternal ice, a man dreamed no dreams. He simply waited, patient, eternal, the forgotten defender, still on duty. Months passed after the message from Elias Kane echoed across the galaxy. No new ships came near Sol. The jump points at the edge of the system stayed empty. Trade routes bent away like rivers avoiding a cliff. Planets that once sent probes now kept their telescopes pointed elsewhere. Fear had become the new border around Earth. On Nexus Prime, the Grand Assembly met less often. When they did, Soul was never the first topic anymore. It was the last, spoken in low voices, like mentioning a sleeping predator in the room. A new delegate from the young species called the Lyran stood up one day. They were small, winged beings with glowing skin. This one had bright, violet wings. She spoke carefully. "We have heard the stories," she said, "but we have never seen him. Is he truly that dangerous?" The old human ambassador, Marcus Lynn, answered without looking up from his notes. "He is not dangerous," Marcus said. "That is worse." The Lyran tilted her head. "Certain of what?" "That Earth lives," Marcus replied. "Nothing else matters to him." The room stayed quiet after that. On border worlds, military bases changed. Old plans for expansion were cancelled. New plans appeared, all defensive. Layers of sensor nets, early warning arrays, fleets positioned far from Sol, not to attack, to watch, to warn everyone else. Children across 1,000 worlds learned new bedtime stories. Parents told them of the gray man who stood on ice and made warships disappear. Some stories made him kind, a guardian who only wanted peace for his home. Others made him cold, a force that would end stars if pushed too far. Both versions ended the same way. "Sleep now," parents said, "and never go near the blue world." Astronomers kept watching Sol from afar. They saw normal things: a quiet yellow star, 8 planets, a thin ring of human stations, and slow ships. Nothing scary. But every time someone aimed a powerful telescope at Earth, they felt watched, not by machines, by something older. Deep under the Antarctic ice, Elias Kane stayed in his pod. The machines around him hummed softly. They checked temperature, radiation, gravity waves. Everything stayed normal. No alerts, no threats. Sometimes the deep voice spoke to him even in stasis. Not words, just status, like a friend checking in. Heliopause clear, no unauthorized vectors, core stable at 0.3%. Rest well, Captain. Elias did not dream. The singularity inside him did not allow dreams. It kept his mind sharp, ready, waiting. Above the ice, seasons changed. Snow fell, wind blew, humans built new cities, launched new probes, sent ships to nearby stars for the first time in centuries. Slow ships, careful ships. They did not hurry. They knew better. One day a small delegation arrived at the edge of the system. Just one diplomatic vessel, unarmed, painted white. It broadcast a single message on open channels. "This is the neutral courier ship Harmony. We carry no weapons, no troops. We request permission to deliver a formal apology from the Galactic Concord. We will approach no closer than the orbit of Pluto. Please respond." The message waited. In the vault, lights flickered on. The pod lid hissed open. Elias sat up. He listened to the broadcast. His face showed nothing. He touched the bracelet on his wrist. A screen appeared in the air. It showed the white ship, small, alone. "Allow approach to Pluto orbit," he said. "No further." The voice answered. Message relayed. The Harmony moved slowly inward. It stopped at the agreed distance. A small pod detached. It carried one being, a tall, feathered aviary diplomat. She carried no weapons, only a data crystal. The pod landed softly on Pluto's surface. Elias was already there. No ship, no suit. Just him in the gray jumpsuit, standing on ice and rock under black sky. The aviary stepped out. She bowed low, wings folded tight. "I am Ambassador Lyra," she said. "We come to say we were wrong. We did not understand. We will not come again. Ever. This crystal holds the new treaty. Sol is sovereign, untouchable, forever." Elias took the crystal. He looked at it for a moment. then crushed it between his fingers. Tiny lights died in his palm. "I do not need paper promises," he said. "I need distance." Lyra nodded quickly. "Distance. Yes, we give it." Elias looked past her, toward the distant blue dot of Earth. "Tell them this," he said. "I sleep because they asked me to. If they ever need me again, I will wake. If anyone else makes them need me, I will not stop at ships." Lyra swallowed. "We understand." She backed away. The pod lifted off. The Harmony turned and left the system at once. Elias stood alone on Pluto for a while. Stars wheeled above him. Cold wind moved over the ice. He looked at Earth one more time. Then he vanished. Back to the vault. Back to the pod. The lid closed. The lights went out. The galaxy kept turning. Trade grew again, but never close to Sol. Science moved forward, but never toward conquest. Species talked more, fought less, because one small system reminded them what real power looked like. Not armies, not weapons, just one man who chose to sleep, so others could live. Years became decades, decades became centuries. The name Elias Kane faded from daily talk. But the proverb stayed. Don't wake the defender. It became the strongest rule anyone remembered. And on quiet nights, when the galaxy felt too big and too empty, people looked towards Sol. They saw a small light. They felt something vast behind it. Something patient. Something unbreakable. Something human. The forgotten defender slept on. Under ice. Under stars. Under time itself. And the galaxy watched in awe. Not because he was a conqueror. Not because he ruled. But because he guarded one fragile world with everything he had forever. And that was enough, more than enough, to hold the stars themselves in check.